sharing. We're going live now. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the BridgeGM Green Industry Skills Fair, part of the Meet Your Future campaign. My name is Nafisa and I'm the Enterprise Coordinator for Manchester at the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. As well as our guest speaker from SES Engineering this morning, I'm also joined by my colleague Jane, who is going to be taking care of the technology providing today. So today's event gives you a chance to hear from people who work in sustainability in a wide range of sectors and why it's important that they are green. There are lots of different types of projects across Greater Manchester focusing on helping us use clean energy and sustainable materials in the future. Our speakers will also explain what jobs they are in demand, career pathways and top tips for entering the world of work. The Green Industry Skills Fair is part of the wider Meet Your Future campaign. This was launched by the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, in April 2019. Meet Your Future offers experiences of the workplace and encounters with employers to young people across Greater Manchester in a variety of different business environments to help young people learn about different job roles, careers, and to gain first-hand experience of the world of work. So this morning's event, we will be covering sustainability in the built environment. How can we make our transport network sustainable? Our guest speaker, Sam, will be asking questions throughout the session, and there will be some time at the end of today's session for Q&A. Please use the chat function to ask any questions that come to mind, and we will do our best to answer them. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Sam Johnson from SES Engineering. Over to you, Sam.
Hi there, everyone. Thanks for joining today's session. So I'm going to talk today about green skills in the construction industry. I'll talk about a bit about SES and what we do, and some of the areas where we're working in Greater Manchester too, just to give you a better understanding of the construction industry and what we're doing about sustainability. So I shall start my presentation now. Okay, so sustainable design in construction. Sustainability is what we mean when we talk about the green skills, which today's session is all about. Bit about me first though. So yeah, I'm Sam Johnson from SES Engineering Services. I'm a community investment advisor at SES, and my role is all about making sure our construction sites benefit the local communities where we're working. So this can be by way of offering apprenticeships, work experience, local employment, and also making sure our projects use the local supply chain, so using local businesses too. So why did I choose to go into construction? Well, I didn't, I just fell into it accidentally, and my role has evolved to the community investment role as the business needs changed I've been here for 21 years now at SES. What do I like most about my role? I like that I'm able to work in a variety of locations, so I get to work in a mix of site and office, also from home now in more recent times. And I get to engage with lots of different types of people, from students in schools and teachers to local communities, our clients and other construction professionals too. I really would recommend a career in construction if anybody is thinking about it. So who are SES and what do we do? So SES are one of the leading building services or mechanical and electrical engineering partners in the UK. We're a family-owned business and we work in the construction industry, which is also known as the built environment. So building services engineering is all about making buildings meet the needs of the people who live and work in them. We bring the buildings to life. If you imagine yourself in the most fabulous building in the world, but take away the lighting, the heating, the plumbing, power supply, energy management and the security safety systems, so all the things that SES design and install in a building, you're left in a cold, dark, uninhabitable shell. So building services engineers really do bring the buildings to life. So here's a question for everybody on the call. What is the built environment? If you think about what I've just spoke about, with regard to the construction industry and the built environment, what do you think I mean when I say the built environment? If you can type your answers in the chat, that would be great. Thank you. So when you look around you, what do you see? What do you think is the built environment? Okay, so the built environment is human-made structures, features and facilities which make the environment in which people live and work, such as schools, roads, homes, hospitals, offices, bridges. They are just some of the examples. When you look around you, all the buildings, all human-made things you see, the roads, rail, everything, that is the built environment. So where do we work and what do we build? So we work, SES, over the whole of the UK. We have an office in Manchester and we currently have a number of projects in the Greater Manchester area. And we build everything from offices, police headquarters, custody suites, prisons, residential, a lot of student accommodation, education buildings, so schools, colleges, universities, energy and infrastructure. We have energy from waste sites, leisure, like swimming pools, arenas, etc. And also high-tech science and research buildings too. That's just a small selection. There are other things that we do, but that's generally what we're involved in. There's also healthcare as well, actually, that I've not covered there, so hospitals, things like that as well. And now on to what kind of roles there are in the construction industry. Now, I know there's often a lot of myths about working in construction, that if you want to work in construction, you don't need to have a lot of qualifications, or it means working outside in the cold and wet, or it's mostly men, which actually is still true. We do need a lot more females in the industry, but it's getting much better. So yeah, it's not just the normal construction roles that you might think about. So your roofers, your bricklayers, things like this. Here you'll see many different types of roles. This is just a small selection. And they all happen at different stages of the development. So you will have people involved at the very start, such as an architect and a designer. You'll see here sustainability consultant, which is obviously a hot topic for today as well. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. And then you have roles that you might not have thought about. Your lawyer who manage the multi-million-pound contracts that we work on as well. We have HR professionals that look after all our people. Then we've got the people on site, your site managers, your project managers. We've got health and safety. And there's me over here, community engagement as well. Quantity surveyors. There's lots more roles in this, and there's many that you probably won't have heard of. We've got things like building physics engineers that are related to sustainability, which what we're going to be talking about today. Our digital engineers as well, where they use gaming technology that you might have seen before. They use that to build the buildings on screen before we actually physically build them. And it allows our clients to walk through the buildings using a VR headset before the building's built, so they can go in to the building virtually, have a look around and decide if they want to change anything. Many of these roles have entry-level positions, so there's many trainee roles and apprenticeship roles available in all of these. Okay, sorry, I'm having mouse trouble now. What's going on? Sorry. Okay, so what is sustainability? So sustainability is meeting our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In addition to natural resources, we also need social and economic resources. So sustainability is what we refer to in construction when we talk about green skills. We talk about the 3 Ps, the people, planet, pocket, because our buildings have to suit the people that are going to live and work in them. They also have to be good for the environment. They have to not harm the environment, but they also have to be built at the right price as well. So as a business, we aim to be one that has a positive impact on people, communities and the environment, the local economy too. But naturally, as we're a business, this has to be balanced with delivering a reasonable profit. So more about sustainability and why it's such a hot topic in construction at the moment. So why do we need to protect the environment? You'll see from this graph that it shows how much the Earth's temperature has risen over the years. The global CO2 emissions are rising because of our activities. It's human activities that are causing this, so we need to do something about it. This video here shows the Earth's temperature rising. It's from the NASA website, so you can go on the NASA website and have a look yourself. There's actually a bit more up-to-date video than this, and there's lots of other good material on there too. But you'll see this video shows over the years the temperature warming up, and then in more recent years it gets very hot in certain areas. Okay, so if temperatures rise too much, we'll have problems such as extreme weather conditions. So your flooding is one of the problems we've seen recently. Rising sea levels. Now, what this means for the UK is that some parts of our coastline in many, many years to come, not in our lifetimes, will start to disappear. Loss of species and habitat. This is a picture of the coral reef, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and that is one of the things that is at risk because of the rise in temperatures, but there are many other species that will be at risk as well. So what's this got to do with construction? Well, what does the UK's built environment contribute to CO2 output? So when I talk about the built environment, that means the demolition of buildings, the construction of new buildings, but also the running of existing buildings. So the running of your schools, your colleges, our offices, hospitals, they all have an effect on the CO2 output of the built environment. And around 45% of the UK's total carbon footprint comes from the built environment, which is quite a large amount. So we have to do something about this. So we're looking at many ways to reduce the impact. And this starts at very early stages, so from design stage. We'll need to look at site selection. That can be also important. And we also measure our impact on the environment, economy and local community. And like I said before, there are many new job roles in this area, so many green jobs as they're being called, or sustainability roles. And many of them are apprenticeships and entry-level position jobs. So keep an eye out for them if that's something you're interested in. So not only do we want to have a more positive impact on the environment, but our clients now demand it. This is some information about local authorities around the UK that all have zero carbon targets. You'll see Manchester is mentioned there. London as well. London has quite a lot to do, but they've already put measures in place, such as the congestion charge for driving into the city centre. So yes, we have to do it. We want to do it, but we also have to do it. So how can we tackle this in the built environment in this industry? So there are endless ways which construction can improve sustainability. So where do the emissions come from in construction? So the materials that we choose to build the buildings, the vehicles and equipment we use to build, and also the operational side of the building. So the running costs, the heating, lighting, and the water usage in the buildings as well when they're running. So what can we do? So at design and planning stage, we must make the right sustainable choices. This video here shows how the sun can affect buildings. We look at how the sun moves around the buildings, which means that it would have an effect on lighting and also the temperature inside the building if there's a lot of glass, for example. So from the start, we need to look at if it's a building that's sat there existing, can we refurbish it or do we need to knock it down? Obviously, refurbishing a building is much more sustainable than knocking it down and starting again, but sometimes this isn't always possible. We need to choose the right materials. Can we reuse old materials from a demolition, for example? Can we use recycled content from demolition or even from elsewhere? Look at the glazing option. That would help maximise daylight, so using natural light rather than artificial light. But we need to minimise heat gain, so make sure it doesn't get too hot with the sun coming through the glass. That's what our building physics engineers do. They look at all that, how the building will work when it's running. Introduce green spaces. We will talk about that in a few more slides about why green spaces are important. We've said tarmac versus green there, but we can also have green spaces inside buildings. We can have green walls and lots of plants throughout the building too helps. Renewable energy technology. So you've all heard of wind farms and solar power. We try and use renewable energy wherever possible. And what new technology can we use? Technology is a huge driver in sustainability. There's lots of new things coming out that help us work better and smarter. Building physics, again there, I've mentioned already. We have building physics apprentices and we have building physics engineers here at SES, and they all look at the air tightness of the building, the light, the moisture, heating and cooling, and how the building will behave in the future. So when we design a building, we need to make these sustainable choices, and the main contractor or the building company, so not our SES as mechanical electrical engineers, they would look at the material they use to build the building. So they could look at timber or concrete. So timber is obviously renewable because if we cut a tree down, a new one can be planted. So this makes it really sustainable. Concrete is made of stone, so not renewable. And when you make concrete, a lot of CO2 is produced. So obviously that is not as good for the environment as timber. So that's just an example of one of the choices that can be made. So the frame of the building, we sometimes use concrete, sometimes use timber, and sometimes use steel. And here we talk about the benefits of each of these options. So concrete, as we've mentioned, is not really, it's not a renewable resource, and it can be expensive and takes a long time to build with. Timber is renewable. It can be cheap, but on a large scale, it can be quite expensive, to be honest. But we also need to be sure that we're sourcing the timber sustainably. So wherever we're getting the timber from, they are planting new trees every time they cut a tree down. Steel there is cheap and quick to put together, but it's not quite as durable as concrete, but it is easy to recycle. although not renewable. So you can see here, here's a few of the choices that we make for the frame. The roof, we talk about pitch roof made of timber. We already know timber is a renewable material. Timber used in large amounts can be quite expensive, so that needs to be considered when we're looking at the cost of building. Green roofs. So a green roof is a flat roof which is covered in plants. It helps absorb CO2 and it attracts wildlife, and it can capture rainwater too. It's quite quick to install, but it can be quite expensive. But obviously it does bring many benefits, and a lot of clients are choosing this option now because of the sustainable benefits it brings. And there we have just a normal flat roof mentioned there. It's not made from renewable materials, and it doesn't have many other environmental benefits, and it is quite cheap to install. You could have a mix of different types of material used as well. You don't have to stick with just one all the time. So the walls of the building, we sometimes look at brick or timber or steel. We've already covered timber and steel, but brick is made from stone, which is not renewable. It is fairly durable, but they're held together by mortar, which is made using cement, and cement produces a lot of CO2. And also bricks can be expensive and take a long time to build with. So all this needs to be considered during design phase. And here we are, landscaping. So in an ideal world, we would probably have a mix of all these three. You've got your tarmac, which obviously we need if we have cars parked on there. It's a hard surface. It isn't good for drainage though. We have the grass, which is quite cheap and it can grow quite quickly. It will absorb CO2 and gives a nice green area to look at as well. And obviously at schools you will have playing fields that have grass, but it's also important to have a biodiverse area too, which means lots of different species of plants that will attract wildlife. That wildlife could just be insects, bees, etc. Very important. These plants can take a long time to grow once the seeds are planted. And if you buy established plants, they can be quite expensive, but the environmental benefits are fantastic for this option. So it's important, I think, we include biodiversity in our buildings. And then we think about the inside of the building, so your services and your energy. Natural ventilation is obviously the most sustainable option there. It can sometimes be hard to control. You might have a window open, but you've got noise outside. So you have to consider the area where your building is. If you have air conditioning or heating, if, for example, you can open the windows, it can be expensive, and then you've got to think of the CO2 emissions for the running of the building as well. Renewable energy is obviously something that we try and incorporate. It doesn't take any longer to install than other forms of energy, but can be a bit more expensive. So that's a lot of the considerations we have to think about when we are designing a building. So during construction, we need to look at renewable energy on site, so in our cabins, our vehicles and machinery. Minimise water waste, so we think about rainwater harvesting. Recycling and waste management of materials, so we want to reduce the waste going to landfill. This might mean having different skips on site so that some go off for recycling, and we try and minimise what goes to landfill. I think last year we had 98% of our waste diverted from landfill, so that was fantastic. We like to include green space on our building sites as well. It not only helps the environment and the wildlife, but it also gives our people on site a nice area to have a break from work too. Well-being is very important for our staff. We try and look after the well-being. It's a high priority for us. We also consider transport costs to reduce vehicle emissions. Can people get public transport to our sites, or walk or cycle? So we like to include showers on our sites, so people, if they jog, walk or cycle to work, they can get ready for work on site. And we also provide bike storage too. And we also need to consider the impact of construction on the surrounding area, so how it affects the local community. Make sure we're not parking in front of people's houses, we're not delivering at 6 o'clock in the morning and waking people up, or that we're not making a mess on the road outside. There's no dust or dirt getting moved around the area too, so we have to be considerate on the local community. And then we've got during occupancy. So when, for example, we build a new school and the students and teachers, staff move into it, we need to make sure they are using as little energy as possible, as little water as possible, and also the toxins, so less cleaners and chemicals as possible as well. And then at the end of the building life cycle, we need to think about refurbishment versus demolition and what is best. I've already said before that obviously refurb is better than demolition, but this isn't always possible. So we need to think, if we do demolish a building, what can we use that material for? Can we use the rubble for a base of a new car park or for the foundations? Can we recycle any bricks and reuse them in different areas as well? So it's important that we reuse material as much as we can if we have to demolish buildings. So now, this is one I wanted to talk to you about. You may well have seen this in the news. This is a project that we're working on in Manchester. If you haven't heard about it yet, I'm sure you will in the near future. It's a new arena that is being built near the Etihad Stadium in East Manchester. It's one we're working on at the moment with BAM Construction, who are the main contractor. It's a new kind of venue. It's one that has sustainability at its core, both in design and the future operations, so when the building is running. It's going to bring huge local economic and social value. So it's going to benefit the local community massively. And it will also help the council deliver its ambition to be zero carbon by 2038. It's going to be the most sustainable music arena in the UK and Europe, and it's coming to Manchester. At the moment, it is just a hole in the ground. If you drive past East Manchester, drive past the Etihad Stadium, you will no doubt see all the activity going on there. It's going to be sustainable in the way that we're looking at renewable energy, energy efficiency, low carbon technologies, and intelligent building and lighting design. It's already got great public transport because of the tram line that goes up to the Etihad Stadium already. But we will also be improving the local pedestrian routes, local cycle routes, and as the canal goes up past there as well, so there'll be improved pedestrian areas near the canal too, and also cycle routes, I think I've mentioned already too. We're going to make it accessible for all. It's going to make sure that nobody is excluded from this venue. They're going to remove all avoidable single-use plastic. They're going to have really stringent waste management systems for the operational side of the building as well, with zero waste to landfill as an aim for this. So it's going to be a really exciting project, and we're hoping to run an event with the organisers of this event next year, where hopefully you'll get to see this building progressing and hear more about it as well. So that's very exciting for the Manchester area. So some questions for you now. Has this changed your views on working in construction, and why? I just want to hear a little bit about what you've learned from this this session, to see if there's anything that has surprised you as well. So if you'd like to pop any questions, sorry, any answers in the chat, that would be great.
Just while we're waiting for those to come through, because we do know there is a little bit of a delay with us speaking and you guys seeing it. So just while we're waiting for them to come in, I'd just like to take a second to remind you that we do have the Greater Manchester and Apprenticeship Careers Service website, GMACS, and you can go on there to find information on careers, sectors,
apprenticeship information, post-16 and post-18 destinations. So if you do have any questions as well, you can also speak to a member of our team on there. We have had a couple of questions come in, answers come in, Sam. So yeah, I'll go back to you, which I'm publishing now. Sam, you might be on mute.
Sorry, I can't see them in the chat. Sorry, I can't see any answers coming in.
It's in the Q&A pane. So we've had one, which was, we didn't know there were so many roles in a construction company. We've had another one, which says, oh, I've just lost that.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yes, it's often a surprise to hear about how many roles there are in construction, and also the different types of roles. It's something that we're really trying to raise much more awareness of, and a lot more needs to be done. We do need to attract a lot more talent to the industry, to be honest. So we have a long way to go, I think. So thank you. And another one, oh, there's another question just come up there. Another answer, sorry. When will the arena be ready? So the arena it's going to be a 3-year build. So it'll be 2020, I think, 4. It must be ready then. That'll be 3 years from now. Yeah, we're very, very early stages. So 2024, but do keep an eye out for activities relating to that arena, because there will be site tours and site visits that you can attend. And I see somebody there has said, will there be apprenticeships or opportunities for young people? Yes, there will be. The construction industry in Greater Manchester is absolutely thriving. You just need to walk around, and in Manchester City Centre, you can see all the cranes happening. The construction industry is one that during the past 18 months, when a lot of other things have slowed down, construction has carried on. So it's been an absolutely fantastic place to work. We've adapted so much in the past year. We have a long way to go to attract new talent to the business and to the industry. And our apprenticeships usually get advertised. So we have different types of apprenticeships. We have level 2 upwards, up to degree level apprenticeships. Our degree level apprenticeships get advertised round about October time for the incoming roles the following year. So they get advertised, say, October this year for a start in September next year. Our level 2 and 3 apprenticeships will be getting advertised in the next month for a start in either September or January. So yes, there are many, many different types of apprenticeships, from business admin to building physics engineering to sustainability, all sorts of things going on in construction, not just your bricklaying, your joinery, your plumbing, electrician. There are those roles as well, if that's for you, but there are many others too. So why does the co-op project have you and a construction company? What's the difference? So construction companies build the building, we put everything inside it. We're the mechanical and electrical engineers. So what are your tips for girls who want to get into the industry? Go for it. We're really having a push on getting more females into the industry at the moment. The more different types of people we have working for us, the more different ways of thinking we have, and that's really important to us. We've got an example I can give you as well. There's a lady that joined us a number of years ago as an electrical apprentice, and she is now a proposals manager. So she works on our multi-million-pound bids. She's joined as an electrical apprentice, but then found other roles on her way. She then became a project planner who look at the sequence of the buildings that we do. How, you know, when the lights need to be installed, when the sinks need to be installed, when the security systems, they organise all the sequence of the build. She then started taking photography of the projects to monitor progress. She had a real flair for photography, so she started taking our marketing images, and then she's now moved on to our bid and proposals manager. There's lots of room for change as well. Once you get your foot in the door, the possibilities are endless. Really, you can move about to different parts of the business. Okay, so the next question I have for you is, from today's presentation, can you tell me 3 things that our industry can do to tackle sustainability? If you think about all the things that we've spoken about, from design stage to construction stage and also to operational phase of the building too. New technology is playing a huge part in this and helps us work in a much better way and a more sustainable way too. But if you can tell me 3 things that you've learned from today that our industry is doing or can do to tackle sustainability issues. Reuse materials and be mindful about what materials SES use. Yes, definitely. Very high priority. Remember, we can also think about the construction phase, about the plant and machinery that we're using on site. For example, the dumper trucks, cranes, etc. could all be electric powered vehicles. That's another example of what we could do. I'll give you another minute to see if you've thought of anything else. Planting trees, great. Recycle waste and use technology. All fantastic answers, well done. You've obviously all been paying attention. Okay, so last question. Can you tell me some new things you've learned about working in the construction industry? And do you think after listening to this session that you would consider it as a future career option? We were surprised about all the different job roles that were out there and what actually goes into build a sustainable building. Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into building a building than people realise, from the design and planning stage through to the construction phase and then the operational phase. The built environment really is an exciting place to work, and there are many career paths, career roles. There's so many possibilities, and it really is a great place to work. So I know that I was going to show a building physics calculation at the end of this session, but we've decided not to show that. But what I have said is that if anybody's interested in having a go at that building physics calculation, it's all about CO2 output and kilowattage lighting, etc. I can provide those questions to the organisers of this event, and they can share it with your schools as well for you to have a go at.
Thanks, Sam. So just to end the session, really, thanks so much to Sam for an insightful session, and indeed thanks to all of you students, parents, carers and teachers who have been on the broadcast with us today and asked some really great questions. We do have a Learn Live broadcast this afternoon featuring videos from employers such as Avanti, Balfour Beatty, Stockport Council and many others. The videos will be showing live from 1:30 to 3 p.m. and available afterwards. I'll put the link in the chat for you. And please do keep up to date with our Meet Your Future opportunities on our website, gmacs.co.uk, and on our Twitter and Instagram at YourGMACS, again, which I'll pop in the chat. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.